I had my second spiritual awakening that really woke me up to the experiences that I had experienced. Um, that opened me up to realizing those experiences weren't as bad. Hello, my name is Miss Candice Lee. I am just me. I am a holistic practitioner that specializes in a lot of um, alternative medicine, stuff like hypnotherapy, energy work, stuff like that. That I believe is one of the reasons why I am here. And this experience that I'm going to talk about definitely helped catapult me to where I am today. It was definitely more of like an out of body experience or like a spiritual awakening or self healing moment. I feel like there's so many different ways to explain what happened, but there's no right way to explain it because I feel like there's just so many different avenues and perspectives on it. But for myself, it was definitely a out of body experience and a very self healing experience for myself. I was in a very very toxic relationship to where we were doing a lot of things and experimenting with a lot of drugs to where it caused more of like a ethereal experience for myself. I started being able to tap into different realities and realms and aspects of myself, whether it be my intuition or um, my gifts or whatever the case. It just helped open up different avenues. And there were points in my experience to where I was still tethered to my body, but would be taken out of my body to experience what was going on like a grander realm. Um, Seeing the abuse that was going on, seeing the toxicity that was going on while being, tethered to my body, but still seeing the experience from a different perspective. Um, And yeah, I feel like that, I don't know, I feel like I'm just going, but yeah, that's a little bit about what kind of happened in that time frame. It was almost like I remember, experimenting with this drug and would be in a scenario that was very dark. That probably wasn't supposed to be as dark as it was as we were experimenting on all these high vibrational, um, drugs, aspects, whatever have you. And I was seeing more of like the negative connotations of the people that were around me. So I was seeing my ex-boyfriend and the darkness that he was holding within him. I was seeing his friends, and they would have a thought within their mind, and I would hear the thought, and then all of a sudden they would be vocalizing the thought, and these things kept happening so much that it almost like shocked my system so much that it made me take myself out of my body because I couldn't face the gifts that I was being given. I couldn't face whatever was going on. I was very young at the time when it was going on. So I've come to learn a lot from that experience, but still haven't learned everything. But Um, I forgot where it was going. So my body, I kind of would be almost in like so much of a shock that my body would be, I would be taken out of my body and I would be looking at the situation from a different perspective. So I would be seeing it literally from outside of my apartment complex, for example. Like it was almost like I could see the whole floor plan of my apartment, and then I would be tethered out more, and then I could see the apartment complex, and I could be tethered out more, and I was out in space tethered out more, and I was with consciousness and source consciousness, and was able to feel that connection with source, with God, with the universe, whatever you want to call it, because everybody calls it something different, and was able to almost have like a remembrance and a connection to where I was remembering myself to where it wasn't as scary as and as shock anymore, so I was able to bring myself back to my body. It was almost like I was being connected to something greater than myself that I hadn't fully explored, and it was something that I was exploring on a grander level that I didn't know that I was experiencing it on. I was, like I said, a child, and it took me a really long time to come back to Earth because I was out in the ethers. It took me a really long time, like multiple years, to get myself back to the Earth, to get myself back grounded, to see the difference between the two and know that both are supposed to coexist, but we're supposed to also coexist within it. A bad experience. It took me a really long time to accept it for what it was. Accept it for the experience, accept it for the gifts, accept it for whatever it was, the lessons, the good, the bad. So much so that I blocked it out for a really long time. I decided to ignore it. I'm like, this is scary. I don't want to touch this. And I ignored it and I stuffed it down. And that caused me to go into a huge spiral in my own journey and life, which caused me to go through a lot of addictions, a lot of turmoil, a lot of bad relationships. And it wasn't until I reconnected with myself and realized that, there are, like I said, there are parts of us that are bigger than just us. And there are things that are unexplainable yet explainable at the exact same time. And I think that's the duality and the polarity of life. The good and the bad, the negative, the positive, it all coexists in one. And it wasn't until I really took my spiritual journey seriously 6 years ago, so I stunted my growth for a little while. Um, but it wasn't until about 6 years ago that I really had an appreciation for these moments of transcendence, these moments of, I don't want to say clarity because they didn't bring me clarity until years later, but I guess at the same time, time is fickle and um, we learn when we learn it. Doesn't really matter when the experience happened. Um, but I feel like I've learned a lot about myself and my purpose here in this world from the experiences that I've had after what? At this experience. How was my life after it? It was really hard. Um, I was 17, I was a child, I didn't know what I was experiencing, I didn't know what I was feeling, I didn't have the guidance to assist me in what I was going through. So I went through a severe depression, I went through a severe personality switch. I started doing things that wasn't necessarily me or what I wanted to be. Like I said, I saw all these things and I was just like, no, I don't want to accept this. I don't want any of it. And I just shut it down. And because I shut it down, I went down viral. I went down into a very deep depression, um, deep addictions, a lot of things that were not me. I was never meant to be that person. Um, I guess I was supposed to dip into it to feel it and experience it, but I was never supposed to be there long term. Um, and it wasn't until I had my second spiritual awakening that really woke me up to the experiences that I had experienced, um, that opened me up to realizing those experiences weren't as bad as I allowed them to be within my mind. I was just young and just didn't know any better. So, it was a learning experience for sure. When I did past life hypnotherapy with myself, when I went into it, I wanted to know why I had such a distrust with men. I wanted to know why I had this negative connotation with the masculine energy, male energy, men in general. I knew that it wasn't just this lifetime. I knew that like I came into this world not having not necessarily respect, because I do have a lot of respect for men, but having this negative feeling around men in general. I went into I went into hypnotherapy and I did my past life regression, and it took me through my whole life, showing like my distrust in this lifetime with men, all the failed relationships that I had had, the relationship with my dad, the relationship with, other people that my mom had dated. And I was just like, oh yeah, like that all makes sense. And then it started taking me back further, and I was in the womb. I was in my mom's womb, and they were talking about um, wanting to take me out early. They wanted to induce my mom. They kept saying that they couldn't figure out when my due date was, so they wanted to take me out early because they couldn't figure out when I was supposed to be born. And I'm in the womb as my mom is saying stuff like, no, I don't want her to come out yet. I don't think this is the right decision. And the doctor happened to be a male doctor who was like trying to convince my mom that I needed to come out early. I came out early. I was premature. um, I was all of these things. And I remember talking to my mom about that, and she was just like, how would you even know that? Like, how would you even know that I was saying these things to your doctor or to my doctor when you were like in my womb, in my stomach? Like, there's physically no way. And she's like, because that's literally what I said verbatim was, no, I don't want her to come out early. Like, this isn't the right. I'm like, my mom's just like stunned that I'm telling her this. So then from the womb, I was taken back even more. I was taken back to a past life where I was married, and I was married to a very abusive alcoholic, who was in war, and he was a war veteran, and when he came back from war, he was very, very abusive. He was very a raging alcoholic. We had 3 kids together, and the abuse just got so bad that I eventually wanted to escape. So one night when he was really, really drunk, I took our kids and um, ran out into our field. We had a big, huge farm. Um, you know, I ran and he tried to run after us. And I was able to escape with our kids. And I was able to live with my sister or some family member. And I had my kids there, and we were in a different town, and it had been a few months, and I thought I had escaped my ex-husband. Like I thought like I was free and I was never gonna see him again, and I was out of this terrible relationship from this past life, and everything was gonna be great. And I was walking down the street one night in the middle of the night, and he had come out from an alley and he just shot me in the heart. He's right there, point blank, like just turned the corner and shot me. And that was how I died in that lifetime. I was shot in the heart by, someone that I thought was going to be my partner my entire life, who ended up being this, raging alcoholic that was abusive. And I had brought that into this lifetime with my distrust for men. That kind of just continued on to where I'm still learning the lessons that I needed to learn from that lifetime when it comes to my discernment with relationships. That's really a big thing that I'm learning in this lifetime is um, learning how to have discernment with my partnerships and my friendships and my relationships. That's a really big thing that I'm learning in this life. You can connect with your higher self pretty easily. But it's a willingness. A lot of the times we like to get stuck in our past selves, in our past versions of ourselves, that we don't allow ourselves the ability to be in the present moment with our present self so that we can see what our higher self is wanting of us or needs of us. Um, I remember having my out of body experiences and being in connection with my higher self and talking with my higher self and my higher self telling me things like, hey, you have things to do. You can't be messing around. And I'm like, haha, I'm gonna mess around. I'm gonna do whatever I want. You can't tell me what to do. And, it's little conversations with your higher self or with God consciousness or, whatever you want to call it, because I think it's different for everybody. I don't think there's a right or a wrong. For me personally, I feel really connected with my higher self. She has held me through so many experiences and things, and she has helped push me through a lot of hard times. Um, and I'm trying to think, I think connecting with your higher self um, is a learned practice. It's something that, one, you have to have an openness and a willingness to accept that there's different parts of you. Two, you need to accept that there is, there is these different parts of reality. So this future self obviously wants the very best for you. That needs to be another aspect that you need to remember when connecting with these parts of you. It's definitely something that I do within the line of work that I do with my clients. I know I have had times where I've had clients connect with their higher self to when they're going to fix a problem that they have. And then lo and behold, they turn that age and that problem's correcting itself all on its own. So it's really cool to see that process of it. But yeah, there's definitely multiple ways that you can connect with your higher self. It's just a matter of getting into the space to do it. So there's many multiple ways that you can raise your vibration and frequency. It's just a matter of what resonates with you. Um, I'm trying to think. There's this fascinating frequency table that shows like what each emotion frequency is labeled as. Um, and I think authenticity is the highest vibrational frequency that you can hold. Is I don't remember what the number is, but like authenticity is the highest vibrational um, connection that you can hold within yourself. And that's above love. It goes love and then authenticity or something like that. Something like that. But you can change your vibrational frequency in a plethora of ways. You can do it by doing sound healing. You can do it with changing your lifestyle and your eating habits. Finding different foods that have higher vibrational frequencies within it to where you're eating those foods that help raise your vibrational frequency. There's music. You can raise your vibration by dancing or going and singing. There's multiple ways to raise your vibration. It's just a matter of what's going to resonate with you because each person is so different. The only thing that's coming to me is the only way out is in, which means I don't even know what that means. That's all I'm getting is the only way out is in. Does that suck? Yeah, it kind of sucks to hear, but I don't think anybody is gonna move forward until we realize again that we are one, stronger together than we are ever apart, and two, that we are all more connected than will ever realize, um, and we are stronger than we are ever capable of realizing as well. So, um, can you see those pyramids? I don't really see them physically. Um, they like to, they like to play around. I can tap into speaking to them, have conversations with them. I can hear them talking, but I can't see them in physical form. But I can hear them. They also like to play with my stuff like electronically. Um, the example, they like to play with my daughter's baby toys all the time. They like to play like in the middle of the night. They'll go off in the middle of the night, and I wake up and I'm like, okay, it's not playtime. Time to go to bed. Shoo shoo, shoo shoo now. But for, for the most part, um, it's very innocent. And when it's not innocent, I know when to kind of intervene and shoo them away, in a sense. I kind of am a little bit more playful with them. I don't really like to get too serious with them. I'm more on a playful note. I have had some spirits come through that just want to pass on to the other side, which is just a simple conversation that you have with them. Why are you here? Why did you show up? What's going on? What do you need? um, I've also had clients who have had attachments to them, whether it be their mom still attached to them because they miss them and don't want to let go because they, died too early and they don't want to let their son go, or whatever the circumstance. Typically with situations like that, um, I will sit with the person that is still living and be like, hey, do you know that your mom is hanging out with you? This was actually a conversation that I had with somebody, and his mom had just passed away like a week prior to that. And I was just like, hey, like, your mom keeps bugging me. Do you know that she's there? And he's like, yeah, but I don't want to let her go. I don't want to let her go yet. And I was just like, okay, well, you're kind of holding her back by not letting her go. And she's over here like, let him let me go. I want to go. So, it's learning how to have conversations with people aren't normal, typical conversations. And sometimes that's scary. It's not normal conversations that you have with people, but I lean into them when they present itself, but they don't present itself all the time. I mean, I feel like all of us have the ability to tap into that in some way, shape, or form, whether it be in our dreams, whether we get an energetic feeling that someone is thinking about us and all of a sudden they're calling us. We all have those um, psychic abilities within us. It's just a matter of strengthening them and giving ourselves the ability to have that willingness to get to that space. Um, I know there's been times where like I've had dreams of things happening and then the next day they happen, or I have a thought in my head about someone about to say something and then they say it, or just like I said, like I have a feeling I'm thinking about someone and all of a sudden they call me. It's little things like that, but I also think energy plays a lot into that. We are all energetic beings, so we have the capacity to tap into every one person's energy and let them know, like, hey, I'm thinking about you, and they have the ability to receive that energy or not. Um, so you think it's all about learning how to play with what your energy is. I feel like all of us right now are tapping into our gifts and our abilities in a plethora of ways. So we're all seeing um, realities that can happen, but it's up to us to either allow it to happen or create a ripple to change that to happen, or create a ripple for a change to happen so that those things do not happen. When I think of God, I don't think of just God as one entity, right? Um, Something that I've learned in school, in my training, um, something that one of my mentors used to say is GUS, GUS, which is God, Universe, Source, which is a plethora and an extension to God, right? Because we have God, we have the universe, we have source energy, we have so many different aspects to our reality that it's not just one thing. I do believe that we are all capable of tapping into our innate knowledge and our innate abilities to be able to connect to source, connect to our higher power, our higher self, um, and to the universe. Like we all have that ability within us. We just have to be able to give ourselves that grace and that commitment to be able to connect to God or the universe or source. Because, like I said, I feel like everybody looks at it so differently, so I can't, for my personal self, I cannot put it under just one umbrella. I think when it comes to suffering, we are our own victims of suffering. We are our own reasoning for our suffering. And once we tap into that and realize that we are capable of allowing something different, maybe that's what God was trying to say. That we are capable of stopping our own suffering if we allow it to be so. You're eating those foods that help raise your vibrational frequency. There's music. You can raise your vibration by dancing or going and singing. There's multiple ways to raise your vibration. It's just a matter of what's going to resonate with you because each person is so different. So do you have the message for the people? Like what they need to prepare for the future? Oh, that's a good one. I would say biggest message would be the only way that we are going to be able to create lasting change is to remember that we are all connected, that we are all connected in some way, shape, or form. And the only way to remember that is to remember ourselves.